Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. It is I, Top Hat King, and today let's talk about Residence Massacre. A lot of people have recommended that I cover this game, but also that I cover the popular theory of whether Residence Massacre might actually be connected to Jim's computer, and today I am here to talk about that. And I'm here to say that it is my theory that no, they are not related, and for several reasons. That being the incident that causes the games to occur, timeline issues, design, stories that they're both trying to tell, as well as the potential reasons as to why people might think that they are related. But before I do, let me fulfill something that somebody asked for, a short review of Residence Massacre. If you don't know what Residence Massacre is, which a lot of the people who have recommended me to cover this story probably already do, but for those that don't, Residence Massacre is a game on Roblox created on August 14th, 2023 by Mr. Gamer67. The premise of Residence Massacre is that there's been a radioactive spill near a factory that we actually work at.
This is an official emergency broadcast from the government of Roblox. We inform you that there has been a significant radioactive spill at a factory near your location. Multiple unknown anomalies have been reported soon after the incident. Your safety is priority, and we urge you to take immediate actions. Follow these instructions to protect yourselves and your loved ones, while your government works on addressing the situation. If you are at home or work, remain indoors and seal all windows and doors. If you come across an anomaly, try to scare it off but do not interact with it. If the anomaly finds way into your house, do not fight it. Hiding is the only option. Keep your television, radio, or other communication devices on. Listen to official updates and instructions from your local authorities. Thank you for your understanding during this challenging time.
With us just having gone home before the incident in the factory. Regardless, the government is attempting to deal with the anomalies that have come out from this leak, but for the players/players, depending on whether or not you play the single player or multiplayer, all they can really currently do is survive by evading and scaring off the mutant that the community has called Larry away from their home between 12 to 6 a.m. The main objective is to survive, similar to like a Five Nights at Freddy's style system. And that's really about it. It's just like one night at Flumtings where the game gets progressively harder the more time goes by, and currently there is only one night. But they are also teasing a second night's release not too far away from now. So that's really cool, and it looks like it'll probably take place in the factory where you worked at. But beyond that, there is very minimal story. But the thing about the minimal story is that a lot of people have ended up making theories, despite how little story there really is for the game, in order to explain what is going on. And one of the most predominant theories that has arisen was that Residence Massacre and Jim's computer are connected. So let's finally talk about why, or that these two theories that I'm going to be talking about, how they might be connected, are really, really shaky. To begin with the biggest part, the incident that causes Residence Massacre is not the same that is in Jim's computer. On day one, there is a mention of an oil refinery opening. However, there is a spill that may or may not have connections with the later events in Jim's computer. In Residence Massacre, however, it is clearly stated that it is a radiation leak that occurs in the factory. Both of these things are very, very different from one another, as a radiation leak and an oil spill are not the same, and it doesn't take a genius as to why. And the radiation in the game of Residence Massacre is assumed to be what causes mutations in humans, as seen with Larry. And the other is a spill with an oil refinery that, as mentioned, is never necessarily confirmed whether or not it even has an effect on what is actually occurring in the events of Jim's computer. To add on, it feels like people are really, really split on when the game takes place, or which game takes place first. Whether it be Jim's computer taking place first in this timeline of events, or Residence Massacre, but neither really fulfill the placement regardless. In the theory that the fact that Jim's computer takes place before Residence Massacre, the issue with this is that it doesn't really explain what is happening with all the disappearances, why the oil spill is never mentioned or ever alluded to in Residence Massacre, given that both games take place in Robloxia, as mentioned from both the radio in Residence Massacre and the newspapers in Jim's computer, and smaller things like the scratching on the door or the anomaly Jim faces, which we know that in Residence Massacre anomalies start happening after the spill, all not really being answered. Because of this, Jim's computer can't really be after or even have Residence Massacre occurring during Jim's computer, as once again, they don't really add up. The other question is, if there is an anomaly in Jim's computer, then it can't be Larry, and the reason is due to Larry's mannerisms of attack in Residence Massacre. Why would Larry not seek to kill Jim at night before night 5 when it's all dark, hence there's no light, and there are windows that Larry can very easily break? On night 5, the windows are boarded up, and hence in the game of like Resident Massacre, it takes a little bit more time for Larry to break. This is the same way that he works in Resident Massacre, so it's either that it's not Larry or some other anomaly. One that is never seen in Jim's computer, and one that is probably not going to be in Resident Massacre. Because we can't confirm the existence of the said anomaly, it already throws a huge wrench as to what the monster even might be. And if it doesn't appear in Resident Massacre, and it's never seen in Jim's computer, then there's no way to even relate the two based on the monster alone. Because of that, for either game to be connected with Jim coming first is not really a possibility, and it doesn't make sense that the scratching on the door might be Larry, considering that, like I said, due to Larry's mannerisms, Larry wouldn't even be wanting to toy with Jim and would rather just straight up kill him as he does in Resident Massacre. The next theory that people have come up with is that Jim's computer comes first, which has some issues as before, but the biggest problem is that both suffer from the same issue, that neither have a specific date of when they occur, and with that, we don't know how far apart they even would be. It could be a couple of years, which could explain some of the gaping plot holes, such as, why the oil refinery and the radiation leak are two very separate events, mind you, are not mentioned. As if it was a couple years later, they might be ignored or perhaps might not be seen by either event. But the fact of the matter is that they can't really be the same incident or be near each other, as neither one is ever mentioned in either game. And looking at Jim's computer, because Jim's computer is so consistent with the idea that the oil spill is what is occurring, it's never even retconned to be a radiation leak. And because they're made by two separate developers, which we'll get into later, you can't say that you can't just retcon the event into being another, because that's not what the creator intended it to be. You could make an argument that both happen a couple of days from each other, which might make sense in some aspects, but both of these timeline ideas have plot holes that are gaping wide. Another issue is that should Jim's computer even be after Resident Massacre, a big incident causing anomalies to appear would probably leave Robloxia in chaos, which is not good for money. So if Jim's computer takes place after Resident Massacre, and we're assuming that it might take place a couple days later, how or why would the mayor of Robloxia all of a sudden decide to open an oil refinery if a radiation leak happened not too long ago? Once again, this could be explained if it had been years, but if it's been years, where did the anomalies go in Resident Massacre is still very, very open and not explained. And what's more is that because they've been years apart, Jim's computer and Resident Massacre would be far disconnected from each other, making them two separate games entirely with little to no connection, which is what they are. Oh, and before I forget, people are now also connecting another game, Weird Strange Dad, into this, which as far as I know is a Resident Massacre copy, and because it's such, I feel like it has a reason to copy the style of Resident Massacre and Jim's computer, but also kind of throw itself in there so that it can cash out from the connection people see from it between these two games. So that is why I don't really count it in this theory, and I don't really connect it to either game. Despite the big issues with these theories, I can honestly see why people might relate the two games and call them connected. Both have the old Roblox aesthetic that makes the night segments stick out and scarier due to how unsettling the atmosphere is. Resident Massacre takes the old style of Roblox and makes the monster, which the community has called Larry, scarier because of how corrupted the old Roblox style looks. He just doesn't look like an old Roblox noob, but the fact that he tries is what it kind of fits and makes it kind of scarier when you see him outside of your windows. In Jim's computer, it's the old Roblox style that makes the night segments really unsettling, as it's a stark contrast from what the day segments are like, which makes the impact of the end more impactful. In addition to this, the fact that they take place in the same city, Robloxia, with very similar incidents, despite the fact that upon further inspection they are they're not connected whatsoever, makes these two seem as if they might be connected, when in reality they aren't. If you still think that they're both connected in some way, I would honestly state this. One of the head moderators of the Residence Massacre Discord server mentioned that Jim's Computer and Residence Massacre are not officially linked whatsoever, and that they only share the similar old Roblox style, which basically means that until it's made official, quote unquote, they're not connected in any way. So there you go. The community of Residence Massacre also does not want this theory to be true and has actively gone out of its way to debunk this theory at several points. It has literally become a running joke for them on the Discord server to say that Jim and Residence Massacre are related, and the community for Residence Massacre just hates this theory. And it kind of does suck, and I feel like in the end it can devalue the story that Residence Massacre might be trying to tell, because a lot of people are going to think that it's just related to Jim's Computer in some way. And it's not bad for games to be related, but I think that it also does devalue the story of Jim's Computer because it's seen as related to Residence Massacre. And when it comes to Jim's Computer, it kind of ruins the idea that there might be a monster or none at all, and that the open-endedness of Jim's Computer and the fact that it's never really answered makes it more impactful and very open for theories. I've made 2 videos on Jim's Computer trying to explain the story and trying to cover a lot of theories that are occurring, especially with schizo theory, dream theory, the monster theory, and above all, I think one of the biggest questions that people still have is whether or not the oil leak or the oil spill that occurs in Jim's Computer even has anything to do with what actually is occurring in Jim's Computer. It's so open-ended that it's perfect for theories and it's perfect to theorize, but we just can't really answer, and kind of having a definitive answer that it has to be an oil spill and that the oil spill is related because it has to fit the narrative of Residence Massacre kind of devalues the story that Jim's Computer is trying to tell. Sometimes a story ends without questions being answered, and it's great when it does because, like I said, it allows for theories and speculation. But in the case of these two having a relation, I think that people thinking that they're connected might limit the story of Residence Massacre because and what it's trying to tell, because it still hasn't been finished. As I mentioned not too long ago, they are just thinking about releasing, and they're just also leaking or giving you sneak peeks of what is happening on night 2, which could completely change the story of Residence Massacre to having zero connection to Jim's Computer. And I partially think that they're probably going to do that because I think that the developers and the community want to clear up and want to make it very, very, very obvious that there's absolutely zero connection between these 2 games. So for these reasons, I think both games are just not related. But that's my theory. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this, and I hope you did enjoy me ranting for a couple of minutes over why they're not related. If you like this kind of content, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. But if you do like this kind of content, consider liking and subscribing. We are really, really close to 10K. And as mentioned, at 10K, we will be making an Adopt Me story explained or theory video. And it's going to be really fun. So if you want to see that, just stick around. I've been Top Hat King, and I'll hopefully see you at 10K.